What's up, everybody? Caius here, and I'm back today with a 3.21 Path of Exile Ice Shot Deadeye build. So, I was kind of looking for one, and for the first few days, I couldn't find anyone attempting to make an Ice Shot build. A lot of people were doing Lightning Arrow and some other things, and then I started to see a couple as I was working on it. So there are a couple trying to show up, but I'm going to show just the standard Deadeye Ice Shot that you'd probably expect to see crit build. And I'm going to kind of break it down here. I mean, just to kind of show off at the beginning. This is just messing in POB, obviously, but I am going to be playing softcore. Uh, I wanted to get into hardcore, but I have actually a surgery starting on League Start Day, so I'm not sure I'll be able to play on League Start Day. It depends if they keep me. It's nothing too serious, just something I have to get done. And, I mean, we can scroll down here. I'll just show you a sneak peek. This is, like, your clear damage. This isn't even your single target. But this is what I was able to come up to with pretty decent gear. Gear I think I would be able to get. That's how I usually make my characters. I start at a point of gear I think I could obtain in the time I play. And then I usually make some smaller trees that are more realistic to get up to that point. So we will kind of go through those points, and we'll talk about a few of the unknowns with Ice Shot as well. And go from there. Just going to tweak that down a little bit, that music. And let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to go ahead and switch this to just your white tier, as I like to call it, on all these. So, I have it set up in 4 categories. So, the points are always going to be towards the end. It's kind of up to you what you want to do. But I guess to start with leveling, how I'm going to do it, I'm literally just going to start with Split Arrow, and as soon as Ice Shot's available, I'm going to play with it. I always like leveling with the skill I'm going to use, just to get a feel for it, to kind of learn the downfalls, the weaknesses, all the things about the skill. So I'm going to be messing with it, as this is actually my first bow build I've ever played in Path of Exile. And I played since beta. I am coming back from a long break. I hadn't really played the last 3 or 4 leagues, maybe 5 since Lost Ark came out, but I'm done with Lost Ark now, so I can kind of focus back on this. So this is a standard tree we'll be building for it. No cluster jewels, no thread, which we'll end up throwing in later. But the biggest thing I would say for leveling is you want to get this first, because if you're going to be going into Ice Shot, this will give you a conversion between the skill and the mastery. You'll be at 100% cold. You don't have to worry about that. Then after that, it's kind of up to you. Personally, for me, I think I would probably go somewhere like, actually, we don't even need this. I don't even know why this is here. We're just take that off. That kind of gives you a couple points to play. You can put that back in if you want, but it kind of gives you some points. You can go up here. This will be really good damage early. Make your way around here. Pick up the accuracy if you need. And then I would actually, from here, start picking up the +1 projectiles. You're going to get 2 immediately. So it'll give you free LMP. And you can kind of put other links into your Ice Shot. And then you can make your way over here. Pick up this. You can pick up a little bit of life on the way. And then other than that, I think the leech might be actually decent early because you get the instant leech now. And we go up to maybe pick up more life, and then again you have some more just straight damage here. There's a lot of good damage scaling early, and then you can kind of go anywhere you want from there. There's really no wrong way to go. The mark could be good early, getting the frenzies early for uniques, like for early maps. It's really up to you. We do pick up 1 reservation cluster. We pick up charisma, and that's pretty much what we do for leveling. But this is our early game tree. And just to kind of show where our head is at, because this is pretty much the same throughout all the things, except we're going to throw some clusters in. So I'm going to kind of go over the masteries first, and then we'll go into the equipments I expect to have at this point and the items. So for the mark mastery down here, the 10% chance to get a frenzy on a marked hit, no brainer. It's our frenzy generation. We do pick up point blank, plan to be close in this build. I pick up the cold mastery down here, and at this point, I'm not expecting to have any kind of gloves during early white maps that will give me the exposure. Sure, you can get them, but just for now, I'd pick up the exposure node in this, but this will change later. Don't pick up anything on the projectile mastery. For the elemental mastery, this one was showing to be good. I have some questions on how it's going to work. It just says hits have a 25% chance to invert their resist. So I know if they have 80 resist, it would go to negative 80 resist. And then I guess if you have any pen after that, it will just add on to that. So I'm assuming that's how this works. This will just be a big increase. We take the conversion on Cold Mastery. We don't take anything on Reservation Mastery. For this, I especially think early, even endgame. Endgame, it's still 300 accuracy increase. We'll just end up picking that. It's just very solid. You don't have to worry about your to hit too much. Critical mastery, that's actually the wrong thing. That should be multiplier. So take the 25 multiplier. We won't take anything on the attack mastery. On the evasion mastery, we'll take the spell suppress. Which I didn't really, for white maps, have it spec'd. Like, you can. But again, I'm playing soft core, so I think it'll be fine. But you don't even actually probably have to have this on, to be honest. You could just wait and just save that point. I did take Flash Mastery because at this point we're not really crit. This is something I'm trying to fit into the end too because I think it's just very good. I'm going to probably squeeze it in. But it just gives you a bunch of flash. You're going to be chilling everything with Frost Shot. So this is just free, easy flash generation. Actually save a point there too. This is all early. So then we have the Leech Mastery. 10% instant leech. I think it's just going to do wonders for this build. Keep it nice and alive. We then take our Life Mastery for the 50 life. And then we just make our way over here, grab the Assassination. We should have this too. 15% increased life. Now, it doesn't show in POB, so I actually had to mod it up here. And I always do this with Resist, because Resist I leave up to the people to figure out how they want to do it on their gear. But yeah, you put it in here and it'll show up 15% increased max life. That's if we have some kind of unique armor, I guess. I'm expecting only to have a yellow, as you can see, entering maps. But you never know. I might have a unique, something like very easy to get. Might drop 5 link from Heist. You never know. So, I'll leave it up to you. As we go into skills, I'm planning on entering maps. Usually, when I get to maps, I'm able to usually go on right after I exit. I've earned enough currency to buy a really cheap 5 link. So, I'm expecting to have at least 1 5 link. I don't think I'll have 2. But in this case, you'd want Ice Shot, Added Cold. These probably wouldn't be necessarily 20 yet either. Or quality 20. So we could actually probably take this off just to show a more realistic experience. So yeah, I go Ice Shot, Added Cold, Elemental Damage with attacks, then Cold Pen, and then Chain for clear. I would always try and keep Chain in there. I think Chain should be good. And then for single target, we have our Barrage. And just to show you the difference in damage, like just the combined DPS of the skill. This would just be the thing. You get 3 times your damage just for single target if you need it. I don't think you'll need it too much. I think this should be okay for most white maps. Maybe if you have a hard boss, you can just swap this on really quick. So that's the one downside of the build. You do have to swap on Barrage for Chain often. And that's just how you make it work. Then we have Totems. And same thing. I wouldn't expect to maybe have a 4 link yet. Or 5 link. Maybe just a 4 link. And we would just do this. Again, the quality would come off. I'm just not going to touch it. But yeah, we have Ice Shot, Ballista Totem, Barrage, Multi. You would get 5 of these totems. And it does help. They add about another 50% damage to the build. So, ends up actually if all 5 are out, they do more. You shouldn't, again, need to put them down to clear. It's more for the boss. They are barraging, again, the whole time. Mark. So this should actually say Mark right here. See, we're kind of doing this on the fly. I kind of made this. I'm just trying to put something out there just so we have it. Auras. So for auras, we'd have charisma. So determination. This is a way to generate some armor without having to go all the way to Iron Reflex. It's so far. It's such a heavy point investment. And Enlighten, if you can get it. If you can't, it's not the end of the world. You still have 70 unreserved mana, which should be fine with the instant leech. Defiance Banner, just to give it a little bit more armor. Evasion rating, more survivability, and then Hatred is our damage aura. Pretty straightforward stuff. For Mark, I was originally going to do Mark on hit, but the sockets are super tight in this build. So I think self-casting Mark's Eyes of Deadeye is fine. You cast it once, and then it's going to spread as you kill stuff, so it's not the end of the world. So we got our Mark. We have our Frostblink Bone Chill. Again, gives you extra damage. Just in general, if I turn it off, we drop decent amount. And it's more substantial as you go scaling it more and like getting better gear and stuff. You'll see bigger drops. So that's our way to our movement plus our chill effect. And then Blood Rage just for mapping. Killing stuff, keep it charged up pretty easy. Pretty standard stuff. We then have a Blood Magic setup, and we're running a cast some damage taking Molten Shell just for a little bit extra survivability. And then we're running Precision. I'm running it all the way up. with the current gear I'd have, hopefully entering maps would be still around like 4,300 HP, which should be fine. We're not planning to really let much stuff hit us. We're going to keep it chilled, and that's about the gist of it. But yeah, we're running precision, a little bit more accuracy, a little bit more crit. And then, if you can get unset, I put Tornado in. I put Tornado regardless. I'd probably actually put it over, like, a Sniper's Mark. Or if you don't have your full totem set up, or if you have, like, a 4 or a 5 socket 4 link with one extra socket, I put Tornado in for now. I think it's just going to increase the damage substantially. It's not a skill I have a lot of experience in. I think it's the last league I played was when Tornado came out, so I got to mess with it a little bit, and it seemed pretty good, so I'm assuming it's good. I don't have it factored into the damage or anything, but it's supposed to reflect a ton of the projectiles, and when you have totems and you all shooting at this thing that's hitting everything, it's going to ramp up really quickly. So that's pretty much what we're running. At this point, equipment, I'm happy if I'm going to maps with Death's Harp. It's actually really good. It just gives you 2 extra projectiles, so it's going to spike your barrage if you need it. Pretty standard bow. I don't think it will be much expensive. I'm expecting bow stuff to be more expensive this league, but I don't think this is one of the ones that will change too much. I think it will be pretty affordable early. Just going to get just a regular quiver. This might have actually too many mods on it. I'd probably cut... Actually, I don't think that's the quiver I'm supposed to be using. Let me see. Yep, okay. We crafted some cold damage on. Hopefully you get like at least 2 of these mods. 3 would be great. The added fish shouldn't be there. It just keeps bugging every time it like automatically puts it. But just some kind of quiver just to get you going. Gold rim, just something with resist, honestly. You get some resist up. And that's pretty much the standard loss. I didn't put any suppression on yet. This is just like all resist in life. Just try and survive. A little bit of suppression there. Movement speed on the boots. Something as simple as a crew you wore, just a necklace you could anoint. I didn't even put an anoint on it. Which, if you were to need one, I would say if you're still struggling with resist, or if you're struggling with like resist accuracy, there's a accuracy node right here. That's pretty good. It's pretty cheap. Gives you accuracy and LE resist. Pretty solid. You could also choose to just put a damage node. You're not going to get something like multi-shot, unfortunately. You could do Master Fletcher if you want to save points, because a bunch of these follow-up nodes kind of suck now. And that's what I would do there. Just an unset ring for the purpose Tornado. Nothing too crazy on it. Same with this. Nothing too crazy. And then I would recommend a strength belt because this build does starve for strength. So anywhere you can get strength, like as I got it on this ring, on a heavy belt, would probably help you a long way. And then we have our flask, which I usually keep off, but we're just gonna, just to show, get your armor to an okay point, 57%. Now you got your instant bleed life flask. Those don't change. Those are pretty much gonna be in all the tiers. Then, if we go to the next tier, which I will call the yellow tier, not too much different, except we're speccing a little bit more into spell suppression at this point. At this point, we're trying to get there. And I'll kind of show what I expect. This is by yellow maps to farm them. This is my goal, to get in yellow maps so I can move on to red. And the tree, again, hasn't changed too much. At this point, I don't know if I switched the gloves. Nope. Still not expecting, just going into safe. Not expecting that I'm going to have the gloves, even though they're easy to roll. I know they're super easy, but we're just going to wait. We grab some suppress here. We grab some suppress here. We're now probably making use of this suppress node. And we're still kind of spread out on our tree. This is still no clusters at this point, no threads, because I'm not expecting to have those. And if you just look, our damage kind of jumped up from like 200 and something combined to 600. So we almost triple at this point. That's what we're aiming for. And the full DPS goes up. So that's about our tree changes. Nothing too crazy here. I did spec into this. This is something you could take out if you want. But it's just a very easy source of accuracy, again, so you don't have to think about it. We're at that 100% hit rate without trying. You can unspec this later. As for now, I am expecting I can probably buy a cheap 6-link, whether it's corrupted, and we could just go in with full Ice Shot, Mirage Archer, increased crit damage, elemental attacks, cold pen, and chain. And again, for reference, if we put on Barrage for single target, we go to 1.6, and then our full DPS goes way up. But that is our option for single target. And this is all set to Pinnacle Boss the whole time, just to show you an idea. So I am nerfing my damage against mobs, just to kind of show. Because only people care about the bosses, right? At this point, I would expect to be getting close to 20 or already rolled over and going for the 20 quality, so we'll just leave that there. For our totems, we're maybe lucky if we still have a 4-link. 5-link's a little bit generous, but you see it does hit the damage by a good chunk. We lose about 500k, 700k actually. But this is probably a more realistic approach, but this is the order I would probably put them in if you got them. Auras don't change. Sniper's Mark setup doesn't change. Nothing else changes for the most part. Now we're talking items. At this point, I don't think it's unrealistic to get a bow with about 358 DPS, because the good thing we have going for us, we can get a pretty fizz roll and just craft on some cold damage. Should be quite obtainable. Should be able to get one decent crit. In this variation, I'm sitting on about 58 crits. Okay. You could run a diamond flask, which I don't even have on. What's up, Cat? She wants to watch the build. She's gonna league start this too. But yeah, we just straight up run just a 350 damage, 58 damage bow. I don't think this is too unreasonable. Now I will say, I know some people are gonna ask why not run Lion's Eye. Lion's Eye would be great, but that is one of the uniques. I actually think it's going to spike in price. Like I think it's gonna be, it could potentially be a couple, few, maybe multiple divines early. So I'm just not gonna count on that, and I'd rather spend the money elsewhere because it's not a bow I plan to stay on long. So we just run a 358 damage bow. What's up, Cat? She wants attention right now. Okay, come here. Come here. Come here. Say hi, and let's peace out. Okay. Void Fletcher. Again, I don't know the price of this. Might spike, but I'm assuming it might still be a reasonable. If not, just run the Yellow Quiver. But Void Fletcher, just easy cold damage. Has some extra triggers going on, so why not? And then at this point, I'm trying to get Spell Suppress on all my gear. So Life, Spell Suppress on the helmet. No Lab Enchant still. Same thing on the chest, which I'm hoping I can get a 6-link and just roll it. Shouldn't be hard. Just buy a white 6-link and just roll it up. It doesn't need to have all this evasion armor. Just as long as it has a Life and Suppress roll, we're good. Gloves, same thing. And then you can maybe craft on the Leech. Or I know some people are going to go for the extra damage with the... if they're affected by a cold element, which is better. I just rolled the Leech just to be safer. Boots, at this point, same thing with the move speed. Maybe get the pen enchant from Lab. Shouldn't be too hard to get at that point. Amulet, just stats to cover our issues. A little bit of multi-life and craft out some Leech. Shouldn't be too hard. Just a socketed ring. Again, nothing too crazy on these. These are just like stat sticks just to help us. A leather belt at this point. You could stick with the strength belt if you're struggling to get strength still. But other than that, switch to a leather, get a little bit more life. And that's about that on this part. So we're seeing 681. Now we're going to talk red maps. And for me, red maps, is stuff I believe I can get. Because I do play quite a bit. It's stuff I think is obtainable and should be obtainable to anyone who's farming. And this is the stuff I expect to have while farming red maps. When I get to a certain point, I'll enter with this. And I'll start farming and farming and farming. And hopefully all the farming I've done in yellow maps will net me enough currency to buy some of the next upgrades. So let's go ahead and change all this. Now these become skill trees, which we're going to go into with cluster jewels and threads. One thread, I should say. But as you can see, our damage just went from 600k to 434 with just our normal ice shot. And then if we look at full DPS, it goes up to here. This is our clear spec, by the way. This is even Barrage. So, most notable on the tree. We add this cluster down here. You could do it here. Some people might do it up here if you path up there, but I took this pathing out because I was able to save a couple points. And I decided to go for actually, this is the right one. No, this is the right one. I went for a colon. If you could only find a 2 notable one, I would drop this. If you could drop this, drop this. If you can only find a 2 notable, but you want an 8 passive point one. And we go for Storm Rider. This is a way to generate some power charges. You could put just a little bit of lightning damage in your build, and with crit, you should be able to sustain some power charges like this. Get some damage pen. They're always going to be chilled. It's just free damage. And then from here, I decided, I know the projectile ones are slightly more damage, but this gives more consistent crit. So I go with 2 crit mediums. And we're adding Basics of Pain and Pressure Points. Just getting a little bit of extra crit damage. And that's pretty much our Cluster Jewel. At this point, we changed this mastery because you should have the exposure on your gloves at this point. So what I'm going to say is this is unknown, and we'll talk about it more at the end. I'll kind of enable it to show it. This isn't enabled yet. I've heard you can't freeze pinnacle bosses, but then I've heard you can. It's just they aren't necessarily affected by the slow. So I'm going to assume this does work. And you will eventually get this on a pinnacle boss. But we'll get to that point later. We're definitely gaining an advantage from this now, the 15% increased maximum life, which you'll see when we go to the gear. I do have a little bit of suppress here. I think at this point we are 100% suppressed. Come on, kitty, stay up here. I know. You want to be a parrot today. I got a parrot, guys, not a cat. So we do cap our spell suppress for now. We do have to grab some stuff I necessarily don't want to grab, including a small notable, but it is what it is. We now change the mastery from this elemental one to up here. You can just move it, or you could already have it here, which would probably be smarter. Trying to think if there's anything else that we changed. I don't think so. Everything else is kind of the same. We do pick up elemental focus up here. Okay, this was one change, just to get more increased effective non-damaging ailments and duration as well. And we do pick up this down here. Same thing, kind of scaling the effective ailments. And then, if you guys notice, there's a Thread of Hope here. Now, this Thread of Hope here is freaking busted. Like, I don't see this surviving after this league, just because of all it gives you. So, I'm a bow build. Watch what I get out of it. I now get to cut all the points here and reroute the tree to a better routing. And get +1 proj for 1 point. We then go over here. You have the option to get this if you really want it. It's a little bit extra movement speed. Not saying you can or can't. It's up to you. I decided not to. You get Aspect of the Eagle. Attack speed, damage with bows, accuracy. Triple dipping pretty much. You then can get Quick Step without this, which we do later. Once I can figure out the issues, which I'll talk about. Quick Step, this helps us cap our spell suppress. You see we're just 2% over. That's why I need this 3% node to be 100%. You do get one with Nature for 1 point, or again, resist, crit, and elemental damage. You then get to get this, Primeval Force, which is just a 50% damage increase. And then you get Master Fletcher, another projectile for the bow, and you get King of the Hill. I know we lose all this crit, but our crit's pretty good at this point. It's 90%. And it just saves a lot of points that we're able to put on other things we need on the tree. So it kind of just lets you pick up a bunch of stuff for free. As I said, I don't see this lasting. They're probably going to move this slightly higher up. Because they just can't give you all that for a bow. They just can't. Long term, I don't think this lasts. I know there's been a lot of buzz about this thing. I put it in before seeing all the buzz. I was like, wow, that's broken. And then everyone else pretty much covered, yeah, that's broken. So that's pretty much our skill tree. Skill tree. And then for skills at this point, level 21 Ice Shot shouldn't be unreasonable. You get your Chain. Awaken Elemental Damage 1 should be fine. We're swapping to some different gems at this point. You can see Elemental Pen and Hypothermia, so there's been some swaps, and we'll go over why in a second. Aura is the same. The Mark setup, Totem setup, we're now hopefully going to be on a 6-link at this point. And yeah, everything else stayed the same. Now, just to show, and we're going to go back here a couple times, but if I take off Chain and go to Barrage, that's your single target. Straight up on a boss. Full DPS. And there's other things we'll show in a second to kind of go over. Because more or less this is the end game. There is stuff you can get better than what I got. But we're going to kind of go on the stuff I think I can grab and just go back to this build. Items. At this point, a 546 DPS bow, something around here, I just threw in a number, shouldn't be unreasonable. And the reason I say that is, yes, it's going to be a bow league, but the one thing we got going is a lot of people are going lightning arrow. For us, if you can't find a fizz bow, you could just swap out some of the fizz damage and add in cold. And it actually is a DPS increase. Like, it's actually a DPS increase. And you can scale it, and scale it, and scale it, and do whatever you want with it. But that is one of the things you can do. And you can just keep going. And it's pretty solid, but full DPS goes up like almost a million just by getting one of these. So this is one thing I think won't be too bad. You just have to link it yourself, and I mean that it is what it is. If you try to buy a 6 link, you're probably gonna hate it. So don't buy a 6 link. Do it yourself. It should be obtainable nowadays. Or again, you could just buy a white bow that's already 6 link this. And I'm pretty sure you could roll at least most of these mods after some trial and error, and with the crafting that exists today. At this point, I don't know enough about Void Fletcher. Everyone says it's great, but I just think I'd prefer just a quiver that's giving me multiple things. And it's also giving me that lightning to get that little bit of shock on crit to proc the power charges. So I think the quality of life this gives would just be great. Should be a quiver with a little bit of investment you can get. Now this is the one that's an unknown. Heat Shiver. They might stealth nerf it. There's been a lot of talk about it. It's a great unique. Definitely scales the damage. It almost doubles the damage in this build. But if you don't have it, I think Ice Shot will still be fine. It's just one of those things that'd be great. But yeah, pretty much Heat Shiver. If they're not stealth nerfed, they're still gonna be great and pretty easy to get. At this point, we're going into a Hyries Ire. This is your chest for reasons of just giving you almost a free support gem in the cold damage amount it's giving you. And then you're getting some extra chill duration, and you're getting some more suppress, high evasion. So this is definitely going to be our endgame armor. And I did opt to put no like corruption on it. That would be an endgame project. So then for gloves, not looking for anything too crazy on the gloves still. You're just going to hit it with Exart and Eater orbs until you get the exposure, that's where we're getting the exposure now. And I went for attack speed. Attack speed just seems solid. Keep this build nice and quick. But shouldn't be too hard to obtain. The boots, if you want two-tones, sure, but you might not even need two-tones. I do leave lots of space for resists, but between the boots and the crafting, they shouldn't be too unreasonable. Maybe a few divines if you want like a good pair, and can roll some action speed and some ailment avoidance on there. For the necklace, we anoint Vengement Cascade, which we're just going to talk about later because I'm not sure yet. Again, strength and int neck base is great, and you're just going to get some damage with leeching, some wed, some life, some crit multi if you can. Just an all-around neck. I know Ashes is one thing we could look at. Like, Ashes might actually be a downgrade. But it gives you other things. It gives you, like, that's what I mean. Downgrade is necessarily another thing, but for the price it is, it actually increases the DPS. So this is something you could potentially go into and just get some extra quality, some mana reservation. Maybe you could fit in Herald of Purity at that point. So this actually might be one thing to chase late game, which we'll go into. Another unset ring. Again, just want to be able to keep our Tornado or our Blood Rage. And again, just stats, life, wed. And then at this point, don't think it should be too expensive at this point. Mark of the Elder. Add some cold damage, and we're just getting a huge quality of attack damage. So a little bit of life on there too. It has a little bit of everything. So this is definitely what I aim for. And you're going to hit this with the attack augment because it hits 3 of the properties on here. Okay. At this point, Stygian Vice, I didn't put anything crazy on it, just some stats. You're going to get your resist, obviously, on the belt. Some wed, some life. And again, I left resist on a lot of these places. Like, you can get some resist here. You can get some resist here. Definitely get some resist here. And then you can get some here. That's pretty much where we're going to get most of it. Get some of your jewels. Yep, just some straight up like this. And then maybe aim for some resist on it too if you need it. Or stats, whatever you're preferring. But nothing too crazy there. At this point, Taste of Hate might be expensive. But it's one you want to aim for. Same with Dying Sun. Probably going to be expensive. But for Barrage, it's good. And at this point, we got our Cluster Jewels. And then we just get like a prismatic jewel for our open jewel socket, a little bit of life, attack speed, multi, thread of hope, and when you want a large thread of hope to be precise. And then Watcher's Eye. Ignore the gray spot. You just want one with crit hatred. In my experience, crit hatred is always like 1 divine. Maybe 2 if a high roll. But it's never too bad. Should be quite obtainable. Will help your crit rate tremendously. Like, again, if we take this off, we lose like 14 crit. So that's what I would do for equipment. Now, we're just going to show some scenarios and talk about a few things first. So, I have a general tips thing. As I said, I recommend a heavy belt most of the way and agate necklaces for attribute issues. You can also spec into the 30-point nodes as you're leveling. I think when you're right there, they're right here, both of them. If you really need them, you can spec into them temporarily. I'd recommend it. And then we have the unknowns of the build. So we're seeing numbers, right? We're gonna go through them again. So if I put Barrage on for a boss, we automatically go to 18 full DPS. It's totems, everything out. My ice shot alone is hitting for almost 10. Just mine, not even my totems. So it's pretty solid. Tornado's not included. Didn't even factor in tornado, so that's not included. Thing number 2. Val ice shot, not factored in. You're gonna get, I think it's 5 clones. It's either, is it 5 or 6? It's probably 5. That are all gonna shoot when you shoot, but they only get 1 arrow. So the equivalent of all of them, if they shoot the same skill you shoot, is equal to pretty much one of my barrages. So, in theory, if you go just based on that, Val Ice Shot is potentially just doubling your Ice Shot damage. So that's another 9 mil potentially. Okay? So it should be good. Perma Damage Freeze Mastery, not working on Pinnacle bosses. Or not working on Pinnacle bosses. I think it's going to work. Based on the research I've done and some of the... I've gone to like a bunch of people doing videos on this to talk about it, and the consensus is it should work. It might not freeze them in place, but they might still be able to move, but it's considered frozen. So again, you put this on. We just jumped 3 mil. Okay, so we're just gonna leave this on for a second just to kind of show. So that's an unknown. We don't know for sure if it's gonna work, but could be great. And in a build refreezing, I think it will be great. Okay, so that's number 2. So, we then get Vengeance Cascade, which is what I will be anointing, most likely. It's expensive, more of an endgame anoint. Until then, you could do something like... Where is it? You could do something like this, but I think it's not that good. I think something like this might be good, like freeze duration. Something like that. Or grabbing any of these, like the damage pen, that's good. This could be really good if you want more duration of ailments, which is probably what I go for. At this point, I think the ailment duration would just be too good. There's also this, which, I mean, you can never go wrong with Divine. So there's plenty of options on the tree. But Vengeance Cascade gives you projectile speed. Attack projectiles return to you. Returning projectiles pierce all targets. So you're going to hit, and they're going to come back. It sounds like potentially double damage. Not quite, though, because I assume Point Blank is going to shred it. So it's maybe 30 or 40% increased damage. We'll have to see. But potentially another big multiplier. That we're not even that's not even factored into the build, and we'll go over what I think what the build can hit. Weapon skill trees, we have no idea, and that's why I'm leaning towards this league start, because a bunch of the other ones I start, we're going to use unique weapons, and I don't know how much of a pain they're going to be to Crucible. And weapon skill trees, I'm only going to get 1, but it's for a bow, and if that bow gets any other links, we're talking some big damage. And as I said, bow theme uniques are probably expensive, so I'd probably try and avoid some of those. Now, let's say we're single targeting a boss. Okay. Go up to him, drop my totems, which I'm going to do. Frost Blink in, we get my chill effect. Pretty easy stuff to do. Blood Rage is already going still. We got the attack speed bonus from that. And we go ahead and hit Taste of Hate. Okay, pretty respectable. 25 mil full DPS. We hit Dying Sun now. 29, because the barrage is really getting affected by all these guys. So now we're at 29. We now hit Val Ice Shot, which, if my theory is correct, I think it's going to be about double damage. Well, a little less than that, because it's not getting Dying Sun. So let's say it's another 50% of that. So we're talking 41 mil. And then Venging Cascade works how we think it does. I mean, we're talking conservatively, and I'm just going to put a number out there. 60 mil seems pretty good for killing Pinnacle bosses. Seems like it should do the job just fine. But again, we don't know if all this is going to work. It's something that just might not. And at this point, by the way, you probably could... I wouldn't do it yet, but you'll eventually swap to Awakened Chain. Yeah, I have it here. But we go to Awakened Chain. So, there's a lot of potential. The only one that scares me really is this, because I'm just not 100% sure. The Cascade, I think, is going to work. I actually don't think it's not going to work. Other than that, on the thing, we have Leeching checked. Frenzy charges power. We should have Gale Force. We're going to have enemy should be shocked. Enemy should be frozen. If it isn't, it's going to fall off, but we can always spec into other stuff to help with that. Is enemy chilled? Yes. Exposed to cold? Yes. Pretty standard stuff. But that's what I'd say. Now, again, you can get a higher DPS bow. Quiver's pretty good. You could probably try and corrupt it for an additional projectile. Heat Shiver. It's just Heat Shiver. You could try, like, no. Well, I mean, if you get the enchant you want to risk it, you could try corrupting it. Why not? You could double corrupt this for sure. For the gloves, you could definitely add stuff like attack speed and damage cold ailments, which might actually be better. Let me just put that in, because that'd probably be smarter, because I think it does something else too. So I guess it's something you actually can't get normally. So you might just have to find that. Okay, I didn't know if it was a crafting mod or not. So gloves, yeah, I'd maybe go for that. Boots, you could try to go for elusive. Probably the right play. Would be expensive, like an endgame goal. And then for this, you can go Ashes. So Ashes, again, not only increases the damage, but it's also going to help you some mana restoration. Maybe you can throw in a Herald of Purity. Get a little bit extra damage out of it. Herald of Ice, something along those lines. There's also Pandemonious, which actually is a downgrade. It's kind of sad. Okay. And then rings, I think we're okay. You could definitely probably do a little bit more with this. In this case, you just add resist. That's the big thing. You want resist. And then Mark of the Elder, you could probably corrupt and get something a little bit better. Like if we were to pull it up. I don't even know what our corrupt options are. So yeah, you can get attack speed, which is pretty big. You can get some resist, which might be good for it. Actually, the resist might be really good. So if you can get one with resist corrupted, it'd be cool. Increased aura effect. You can get lightning. You get all these different things. You could also get stuff that gives like hatred, increased effect. Okay, so there's plenty of options. And then belt. If you could try and get elemental damage on it. A couple other mods, maybe some flask mods too. And that's about it, guys. That's what I would do. And then you can try and forward property some of your jewels. And then maybe you can actually rule some like small passive like nodes too to help. And then for Watcher's Eye, what I would recommend, because I think it would just be a great quality of life. So if we go in here, you can either try and add more damage, or you could try and get some suppress here, and try and cut some suppress from the tree, and maybe this. But I'm hoping I figure this part out. I just gotta do a little bit more research, but this is just a on-the-fly kind of guide I want to make for Ice Shot. But other than that, I'll be doing another little build video on Ice Spear Totems after, which that one's gonna kind of depress you when you see the damage numbers it can hit without even trying too hard. So yeah, I'm pretty excited for this one. I think this is well League Start. I don't know if I'll be here right at League Start, but I will be streaming on Twitch, twitch.tv/Kaius, KAIUSSS. There's 3 S's in there. That's my Twitch handle. And hopefully it works well. And again, I hope you guys like it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'll try and answer them. If I did something wrong, educate me. I haven't played, as I said, in like over a year, so there are things I might just not know. So, yeah, we'll go from there. Appreciate you guys. You guys have a good one, and I appreciate your time.